And once again, it's me, the KNG. Let's talk about it. So, we're coming in today with a book review. 1980, 1984. And 1984 is the book that all the conspiracy theories quote and go over, and there's this and there's that and there's woo and ha, but it really is. I mean, god damn. Uh, I actually read a graphic novel version of the book, so I had pictures. Hey, it was amazing. Uh, the premise of this book was that you are no longer an individual. You are just a cog in the machine of the government. The government tells you what they need and you do it. You have no privacy. You have no feelings. You have no emotions. There are no facts. There is no community. And you live in squalor unless you are the elite. So, the main character, or the character you follow, is um, is a guy who works in the Chamber of Information, right? And his job is to actually alter history, right? So if one month they're fighting Eurasia, next minute they'll be fighting Pan America, right? So you want to scrub the record books of all related wars with Eurasia and substitute Pan America and say we've always been in war with Pan America. They've always been our enemy. They've always, you know, shot at us, killed us, and we have to win this war. Uh, and to say anything else would be unpatriotic and, you know, treason. So not only did they change the history, but they also changed the language. They wanted to make sure that we dumbed down the language so much that no one could actually speak up against us because they don't have the words to make up uh, any kind of utterance that would resemble, you know, resistance to what it is that we're doing. So why do we need, um, you know, things like illuminate when we have bright? Or why do we need no, ain't, isn't? Let's just use no. Right? We don't need all these other words. Um, so they were kind of consolidated and bring it down. So you follow the character, and he is out here paying for pussy. Had a wife, couldn't get her pregnant. The only reason he would have got her pregnant is for the government, so they can have somebody that can replace his ass once he dies, and they can continue moving forward. Because if a cog goes out, we need a cog to replace a cog. And with the children, they're taught to spy on their parents. They're taught to um, tell their family secrets to the authorities. So anytime there is any dissidence, any type of resistance going on, it's going to be the children that are going to inform, and then the thought police are going to come and snatch your parents away, and you'll never see them again. You'll go into a home, but you'll also get uh, somewhat of a pseudo celebration. Um, your name being the paper for, you know, the um, the one who informed. You'll be the informant. So the main character here we follow, and he is disgusted by his environment. He doesn't know why. He just remembers a world that wasn't like this world, and he goes into his room, and he sees the TV always on propaganda, always spewing information to, you know, push down your throat so that you can regurgitate it to others, so you can always be live fed the information that will affect you, and keep spinning the machine. So he wanted to not speak in his room because there were cameras always on him. He wanted to get in corners so they couldn't see him. He wanted to be invisible to the big brother. And he was thinking of a way to kind of escape, kind of get away. And so he went to the slums. Went to the slums and seen how they were living, and they were living really, really just dirt poor poverty, but they had entertainment. They were being distracted by football. They were being distracted by alcohol, and people were just having sex on the street. So because of his job, he was able to get an apartment, even though they didn't have the bare necessities, and people at his job would often ask for razors, or different toiletries, toilet paper, things like that to get him through until the next ration or what have you. But they weren't poor like the ones in the slums. These people in the slums were also the people that were on the front line of the war. So the war would bomb into the slums. So as you go into the slums, you hear bombs going off, earth shakings. And this was the norm. But you still have people in the street dancing, drunk off their ass. And then you come to find out that there's always a war. There's a perpetual war. There has to be a war because they're at a stage of technology where they don't need anything anymore. They don't need. They don't necessarily have scarcity. So the war effort is to eat up the resources that they have, so that they will have scarcity. So everything goes to the war to go to blow up, and so that the people will go, well, we need this, XYZ. But if there was no war, then everybody would always have an abundance of everything, and there would be no need for government. So the war was, in essence, the government solidifying itself to be a necessity. And you find out that the government that is here is also the same government, or the same similar scenario of the government there in like Eurasia or Pan America or Africa. So they all had this pact with each other that we would always kill off the people in the slums, to make sure that the war continues, and that we would use the resources that are needed in order to perpetuate the um, scarcity, and they all had an elite class that was, far in the sky that no one ever saw, and the class system was so skewed that even when our main character went to the slums, they were looking at him like, "Why are you here? What's going on? This is crazy." But he went to the slums, ran into a woman that he's seen at a rally. Now they often have rallies to go over the news that was just made up. Whether it's now we're in a war with Eurasia or Pan America or Africa, and we have a stronghold. We have some traitors that you know were given counterintelligence. We're going to kill them at 9 tonight. Come and see their assassination. So all these different things, they used to have rallies, hate rallies, to go over the things they hated or how good the government was to them. So with that said, the guy went down to the slums, met this woman who we seen at a rally, who thought was an informant, and they actually hit it off, got an apartment in the slums, and started to try to etch out some kind of life. Now, she was very cynical. She knew that one day they would come for him because she knows that they watch everything, but she didn't care. She was going to have a little life, a little fun for the time being, and then they're going to kill her, and that was going to be it. He didn't want to die, but he thought he'd enjoy himself as well. And then they wanted to form an alliance with the rebels that wanted to take down the government. Now, this is where it really gets good. So they make a pact with the rebels saying, hey, if I get captured, if I get tortured, I will never give a name. I will never give anybody. I just want to make sure that my love doesn't fade for her. And she said the same thing for him. Now, the rebels said that their quote was, your death, you might never see the change that you die for. You might never see the change that your death, your kids might never see the change, or their kids. So you're dying for something that may take several generations to make change in, but your death might be an impact, albeit a small one. And they said, okay, sign me up. I don't give no fuck. Right? So they went and they did one little handoff, briefcase, came back. The exact same person that signed him up for the rebel army, rebel faction, was an informant. He said, you probably knew this all along, but I was an informant. So come with me, it's time. It's time to find out what you know, who you know, and give up all your secrets. So he said, I don't know nobody. I came to you because you were the rebel I heard about, so I wanted to come and fight the good fight. He said, nope. No, if you don't give us anything, I mean, we're going to have to torture you a lot longer before we have to kill you. So that was that. He was tortured day in and day out for months at a time. Didn't know what time it was, didn't know what day it was, didn't know what month it was. He knew he was separated from his woman, and his woman was going to be tortured the same way until they didn't know the time, date, place that they were at. They just knew that they were in a building, and it was torturing time. I don't know if they knew how cold it was outside because it was torturing season. Anyway, the the thing that happened was that after that torturing and they didn't get any information, they said, okay, we believe that you don't know anything, but we can't kill you until you find peace in the government. You have to love the government, and then you can die. We don't want you as a detractor in your heart before we kill you. You have to love it and then die a patriot. Whew. Now that right there, I said, okay, they hitting hard with this one. So basically, they had in the reports that everybody was always shot in the back of the head. All the rebels, all the detractors, all of the people that were informed on from their kids, they were all shot in the back of the head. And it comes a point in the story where he thought about giving up, but he didn't. He thought, I could just give her name up. If I give her name up, then maybe they'll let me go. Maybe they'll torture her more and I'll be set free, or I can just simply die. And he said, no, I can't do that, blah, 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 blah. But then he thought how good he had it, how good and great this government was, and how wonderful his life has been. And he's walking down a corridor and he's just thinking of the peace. He's at peace with knowing that the government does all of this for the protection of us, for the order, so that we can live out our lives in peace and tranquility. There shouldn't be any lies had by anybody else but the government. And as he opens up his heart to the government, the back of his head opens up to a bullet. And kaboom! Shot in the back of the head. As he comes to peace and love with the government. Yeah, it was crazy. I recommend you read this book, especially the graphic novel, especially if you're in the conspiracy, because the parallels of this now, and this was a book made back in like the 40s, so they were saying this is going to be the way it is in the future in 1980, but the way it is now in 2022 is exactly as it predicted. So yeah, read the book, give me a comments, like, comment, subscribe, shebang bang. I'm out.